Hello everyone, Razorblade Mango here. Well, as of today, we are officially 1 week away from the launch of the PlayStation 5. Not the beginning of the next generation of consoles itself, because the Xbox Series S and X are coming first, but as far as PlayStation goes, next week will be the start. And man, does that make me feel old. But before that comes out, I wanted to give my personal subjective ranking of the upcoming PlayStation 5 games that have been announced that are coming from PlayStation Studios that I am excited to play in order of least excited to most excited. This ranking isn't based on any kind of general consensus or cultural osmosis or anything like that. It's just my own subjective personal opinion of how excited I am to play the already announced 10 PlayStation Studios PS5 games. So let's start with the one that is at the bottom, and that would be Gran Turismo 7. Look, I'll be honest, I don't like realistic racing sim games. That's just me. I am much more in the camp of the explosive destruction kind of stuff, like Burnout, Need for Speed, or hell, even Forza Horizon stuff that I've played has been pretty good. But realistic stuff, not my thing. I understand why people like it. I understand why people would want to buy a PS5 just for Gran Turismo 7. Believe me, I get it. But personally, it's just not my thing. And that's why it's at the bottom, sadly. Speaking of cars, the next one above that is Destruction All-Stars. So this one has had kind of a bumpy ride to where we are now. It was first announced as a $70 live service from Sony that was coming out the same day as the likes of Spiderman and Demon's Souls and Sackboy. And I thought, yuck. I want nothing to do with this. I want nothing to do with this $70 microtransaction hawking live service stuff from Sony. I don't care. Don't want it. Don't need it. Sony sucks at live services. I don't want this. But then it went from that to getting delayed to February, and it will be free for the first 2 months on PS Plus. Now, I still have a lot of questions regarding this game. Whether or not it's going to be $70 once that 2-month grace period is up, whether or not the monetization is going to be obnoxious as all hell, and whether or not the game itself will actually be fun and have the longevity to sustain something like this. We'll see. Like I said, Sony's reputation with live services is gutter trash, to put it politely. But Destruction All-Stars, from what I've seen, it looks fun, looks enjoyable. But again, the longevity depends. It's not been proven yet. But it has a shot, because it went from a $70 game that was going to be dead on arrival to something that has a fighting chance. So, yeah, could be good. We'll see. And the next one after that is Returnal, which is the latest game from Housemarque, who are the team behind stuff like Resogun and Nex Machina, Alienation. And look, I like Housemarque. But the reason this game is near the bottom tier is that I'm not really a fan of roguelike games. There's very few that I can get into and really stick with. I think the recently released Hades is probably the best example of the genre that I can get into, but I can't get into things like Enter the Gungeon or Dead Cells or Binding of Isaac. I just can't. I'm not a big fan of these games that reset and then you have to go through these levels that are different all over again. I know people personally that really love games like this, but they're just not my thing. However, the idea of Returnal is interesting, where you're exploring this planet and you're slowly getting more powers from its environment. The creatures keep changing, the environment keeps changing, it's a third-person shooter, and it's Housemarque. Housemarque are usually really good at making shooters. Hell, they made two of my favorite shooters from the last generation, and they're twin-stick shooters, but they're shooters nonetheless, like Resogun, Nex Machina. Both really good games, especially Resogun. So I'm hoping this one works out for Housemarque, because they haven't really had a big financial hit in a long time. And I feel like Returnal is kind of their last chance to make a big impression among the general public when it comes to video games, so I'm rooting for Returnal, even if I'm not a fan of the genre that it's dabbling in. Next thing is Sackboy: A Big Adventure. All the footage I've seen so far looks really good. It looks beautiful, runs at a rock solid 60 frames from what I can see, but the one thing that has me nervous about this game is the developer, which is Sumo Digital. And I'm not a fan of Sumo Digital. I think their output has been very mediocre over the last number of years, and they're usually one of these studio for hire developers, but the one time they tried making their own game was Snake Pass, and I hated it. I absolutely despise Snake Pass. Now, Snake Pass, it's not the same control scheme as Sackboy. Sackboy, it's more the traditional Little Big Planet kind of thing. But last time Sumo Digital was involved with Little Big Planet, it wasn't that great either, because they released Little Big Planet 3, because they took over that duty from Media Molecule, because Media Molecule was working on Dreams at the time. And Little Big Planet 3, for those who don't remember, came out rather buggy and kind of shitty, a little bit. So I'm not all that confident that Sumo Digital are going to deliver the goods with this game, but the footage I've seen from it looks promising so far. Time will tell, but I'm nervous about Sumo Digital's involvement. That's really my big roadblock when it comes to Sackboy. And the fact that it's a launch title, which launch titles don't always have the best reputation, but I'm hoping this one can kind of turn it around for the sake of the developer, because I'd like to like Sumo Digital, but they haven't really given me a reason to yet, and I'm hoping Sackboy becomes that reason. So the next one is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Yes, it is near the lower part of this list, because if you aren't familiar with my content, I was not a fan of the first game. I thought it was just another mediocre, ho-hum, been there, done that open world action game. It just did nothing for me. Even the prospect of playing as Spider-Man swinging through that city the effect kind of wore off on me after a while, and what I was stuck with was just kind of a checklist of bland campaign missions and obnoxious collectathon stuff and boring side quests, and I did not care for the first Spider-Man game. But Miles Morales has potential, because I like Miles Morales as a character, and like Sackboy, the footage I've seen from this looks mostly promising. I like that it's kind of a little bit more cartoony, it seems, than the first one. And look, the first one is pretty cartoony because it's Spider-Man and all that, but this one has things like Spider-Cat, which I think is very funny. I like that the Tinkerer is involved. I think that's a good choice for a villain, but I have doubts that this one's going to be all that great. However, I'm still getting it anyway just because it's Spider-Man, it's a launch title, I want to see what this is like. Next one is where we're moving up to some of the stuff that I'm pretty damn excited for, which is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. And I like Ratchet & Clank. The series has produced games that I have consistently liked. Not really loved, but I've liked them. And I'm very excited to see how this game takes advantage of the PS5's SSD. I hope it's not like a one and done kind of thing with these worlds where you just zip through them and you're gone. And my big concern is that one of my big concerns, at least, is that the worlds that we actually do get to explore significantly are going to be less interesting than the stuff that we just zip through on one of these, like, oh, we're zipping, it's malfunctioning, ooh, let's go through. I hope so. And another big concern I have with Rift Apart is the humor, which was my big sticking point with the first one. I like Ratchet & Clank more when they're kind of smarmy and obnoxious, like in the first 3 games, when Ratchet is kind of more like too hip for you kind of thing. When he's kind of a wide-eyed nerd in this new version of Ratchet, I'm not as charmed by it as I am the old stuff, but we'll see. I trust Insomniac. I think Insomniac is a good publisher. They're owned by Sony now, so hopefully Rift Apart just blows me away. I hope it blows the first game out of the water. And the next one is Astro's Playroom. Some of you may be surprised to see this ranked so high, but I absolutely loved Astrobot Rescue Mission. It was far and away the best VR game I've ever played, and this is coming from a guy that absolutely physically cannot deal with VR for more than maybe an hour, depending on the game. I got physically sick when I played things like Resident Evil 7, when I played that one mecha game that came with the PSVR. I forget what it was even called, but it was like you were in this mech suit and you were piloting, you were aiming with your head. I hate stuff like that. It takes a very specific experience for me to get into VR, and I thought Astrobot Rescue Mission was that specific experience that really blew me away when it came to VR. I thought it looked amazing. Didn't make me feel ill. It was just a charming as hell platformer, and I've really wanted to see a game in this series be given its own non-VR platformer. And so far, Astro's Playroom is the closest that I think we're going to get for a while, because this still technically is a tech demo for the DualSense controller that comes with the PS5. I'm not really that crazy about it being a short tech demo. However, the footage I've seen from Astro's Playroom looks seriously impressive. Especially the footage. You have to go see this thing. Look at the footage that was captured by IGN. Look at the footage that was captured by Digital Foundry. This game looks amazing. And just not even playing it, just simply looking at it, I just got this whiff of excitement within me. Like, oh wow, this looks so much fun. And all the footage I've seen from it, beyond looking graphically impressive as hell, it just looks so damn cute, this whole game. There's all these cameos from different Astrobot people dressed as different PlayStation characters from the whole, chronology of them. There's references to all the consoles, to PlayStation's history. It just looks like a really fun trip down memory lane. At its very best, it reminds me actually of Super Mario Odyssey, and that is a high-ass compliment for me to give. It just looks like a great Mario game. So I gotta say, it's weird to say this, but a free tech demo for the console and controller has me more excited than Spiderman and Sackboy. That's kind of amazing. It's strange, but it's amazing. So, out of all of them, aside from one that I'll get to in a bit, this is the most exciting launch title for me. Just this free tech demo. Yeah, seriously, it is. So the next one is the Untitled God of War sequel, which I assume some people are calling it God of War Ragnarok, but I don't think that's the official title of it. So I'm just calling it Untitled God of War sequel. This one is lower than it usually would be because we haven't seen any footage of it. I can't really say a whole lot about it considering we just have a logo, but I'm gonna make an assumption that it will look great when we finally see it in action, because I loved the first new God of War game. For my money, it's almost my favorite one in the series. So yeah, I love all the story teases that we got at the end of the first one, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this next one plays out, especially when I know more of the gods that we were familiar with are going to get involved in this, like Thor and Odin. So I'm excited to see what Kratos and the boy do next. The penultimate entry on this list is the one, the only, Demon's Souls remake. So this is the reason I'm buying a PS5, day one. If Demon's Souls wasn't coming out at launch, I would not bother. Now that it is, I'm gonna bother, because I've wanted this game to be a thing for a long time, because I really like Demon's Souls, but I feel like it has always deserved more as far as belonging among the big heavy hitters like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro. And although this is not being developed by From Software, it's being developed by Bluepoint, who are the masters of the remasters and remakes. And everything that I've seen from this game so far just looks spectacular. It really is something. It's almost surreal to think that about 6 months ago, back in May, we didn't even know this game existed. And now we've seen it multiple times. And even since its debut trailer back in June, I can tell that Bluepoint have been making tweaks to it based on feedback. One of my small gripes, for example, was that the rather generic redesign of the Flame Lurker back in the June trailer, but they fixed it, and now it looks much more like the original design, and it looks fantastic. And it's already been confirmed that this game isn't going to have any kind of ray tracing, or I don't think it's going to be native 4K or anything like that, but I don't care. I don't care. Give me 60 frames per second over ray tracing any fucking day of the week. I don't care. I'll take 1080p 60 before I take 4K 30 with ray tracing any day of the week. I will. I'll do it. And this game, all the footage that we've seen, when it's running at look at 60 frames, it looks stunning. It just looks absolutely stunning. Just everything we've seen from it. Just wow. I've been wanting this for a long time, and seeing this game in action is just like a wish list thing come true. It just looks so fucking great. And last but not least is the game I'm looking forward to the most that they've already announced for the PS5, which is Horizon Forbidden West. I adore the first Horizon. It's one of my favorite games of the last generation, so you know I'm super excited for a sequel. And what makes it even more exciting is that it is set in my turf. That's right, my turf. West Coast, baby! And I'm hoping we get to see some other California landmarks aside from the already revealed Golden Gate Bridge. My one thing that I am worried about it, though, is the fact that it is handicapping itself to the PS4, which is disappointing that it's like, oh yeah, we're releasing this on the PS4 as well. Look, I've said this many times, if I'm going to criticize Halo Infinite for handicapping itself to the Xbox One, the original one from 2013, I'm going to criticize Horizon Forbidden West from doing the same. Even with that little caveat in there, I am very, 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 very much looking forward to Horizon Forbidden West. And that's it. Those are the 10 PS5 PlayStation Studios games that we know of so far. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more, but if all of these come out between launch day and the end of 2021, I don't think all of them will, but if most of them will, and most of them turn out to be really good, PlayStation's already off to a fantastic start for this generation. Certainly a much better start than the last few generations, where we had launch titles like Knack, and, Killzone, Shadowfall. But yeah, let me know what PS5 games you're looking forward to from PlayStation. And as always, I'm Razorblade Mango. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye!